So Joseph Smith was in Liberty Jail from December of 1838 till April of 1839. He was with his brother Hiram Smith, and then I believe there was also Sidney Rigdon, Lyman White, and a few others with him. Those were extremely harsh conditions, cold, stone, earth. Was not a good experience for him. It was super difficult. But I think that a lot of people misunderstand the core reasons as to why he was there and why it was so difficult. First of all, I give it as my opinion that the main reason why it was so difficult was not the physical effect. It was not that he was suffering physically and his brethren were suffering physically. That was not the main reason why it was such a difficult experience for him. The reason it was so hard for him was because he was not in a position to really do much of anything about it. Joseph Smith was a righteous man. He was one who demonstrated the righteousness of Jesus Christ, and righteousness is primarily a function of doing what Jesus would do and being able to be of value and benefit to others. And so for someone who is accustomed to being able to exert faith and be useful, to be imprisoned and not to be able to help out was extremely difficult for him. And so I think it may have been in some ways easier for him if he'd been there alone, because his brother Hiram and Sidney Rigdon, Lyman White, and the others, they were suffering with him, and there wasn't much he could do about it. And so I think it hurt him the most, seeing their suffering, and then also at that same time, the Saints were being driven from Missouri. Governor, I think it was Lilburn W. Boggs, Governor Boggs had issued the extermination order. Basically, that was an executive order saying that all the Mormons needed to be either exterminated, killed, or driven from the state. And so there were hundreds, thousands of Latter-day Saints being driven from their homes, being killed. Many women were raped. Just absolutely horrible conditions, being driven in the dead of winter through the wilderness hundreds of miles. And he was hearing and receiving reports of the suffering of the saints, and there wasn't really anything he could do about it. And so that was extremely difficult for him. I think also a big part of the difficulty for him was realizing that this had occurred because of wickedness, because of the wickedness of the saints. They had received a prophet of they had among them, I should say, a prophet of God, Joseph Smith, one of the greatest prophets of all time, and he had delivered to them the Book of Mormon and offered to them the fullness of the priesthood, and they had rejected it. They had rejected most of what he had to offer, and so I don't think that we even begin to appreciate the suffering and the sorrow that he experienced, understanding the sequence of events, understanding the justice that was being poured out, and don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that all that they received was just. Many innocent people, very innocent people, suffered greatly, and that was not their fault. But for some of the saints, it was definitely well deserved, as it were. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the way justice works. And so, sometimes I think that we don't understand, we don't fully appreciate what exactly righteousness is. What is it? What does it mean to be righteous? And I've talked about that in some of my videos. Righteousness is a reflection of goodness. To do good is to do that which has the best value, the best benefit, the best outcome, and doing good for others. And so one can determine one's righteousness by one's productivity in terms of offering and enabling, producing goodness for others, the best value, benefit, and outcome for others. And so those who are righteous not only offer that and do all they can to supply that goodness and benefit and value to others, but those who are righteous will also receive that from those above them, as it were, on that ladder. And so that's also one of the great indications of where you are at in terms of your own goodness or righteousness versus your own evil and wickedness. People who are very evil, very wicked, will not receive that value and benefit from others. There are those who are prophets who have great light and truth, who offer much in the way of counsel and teachings and suggestions for how we can improve. And those who are wicked reject that. They flat out reject that, and in their pride and wickedness, they will not receive it. We see this all the time. And so I hope that helps understanding what it means to be righteous and what it means to be wicked. And so I hope that we will all do better at trying to receive what is in fact offered us in so many ways, in terms of good teachings, good counsel, greater light and truth. And we receive that through so many ways, through the scriptures, through the light of Christ, through revelation, and by those who have greater light and truth than we have, who are trying very, very hard to share it. And often, and I see this all the time, people offer this, then those who should be the grateful recipients become angry, become offended, become hurt, or whatever, and they don't see it as benefit or righteousness or love. They see it as a scathing, hurtful rebuke, and they get all butthurt about it, and they go crawling away whimpering, instead of rising up in strength and being grateful for it and trying to receive it and apply it in their lives. That's a huge shame. And so that we find that history repeats itself. What happened to Joseph is happening again in our time. There are those among us who have great light and truth, and we're trying to share that. And so when someone shares something with you that is perceived as being hurtful or scathing or just too hard, instead of getting all offended or hurt about it, or fighting back, or saying how dare you, and I can't believe you'd say that about me, etc., step back and consider, what truth is there in this, and why would this person say this? And instead of getting all defensive, come back around and say, hey, I'm not understanding, please help me to understand this better. Could we have a talk? Could you explain what you mean by this? How can I improve? How can I learn from this? And so righteousness is a two-way deal. Those who are righteous are receiving light and truth from above, and they're dispensing light and truth abroad and below. And that is the measurement and indication of righteousness. It's also the measurement and indication of great wickedness, when we refuse to receive greater light and truth from above, and the light and truth that we're dispensing is actually done so with vanity, instead of in righteousness, where we're supplying this from a position of goodness and truth. So I hope that helps. Have a blessed day.